I think we're live. I think it's happened. I assume the audio is working. The lighting is not okay though. Hang on. We have more light now. It's slightly better quality on the old dome there. So welcome to today's stream. It should be a good time. Unfortunately, my two opponents I had booked in to play have both been unable to attend today. However, with any luck, Off My Musings should be here in about an hour. But in the meantime, I thought I had an idea for a tier list, a pretty funky idea for a list. Just making sure all the bars are working, basically, here. Theoretically, they all should be working. Yeah, seems like it. So, theoretically, this should be a fun time because I have an idea for a tier list for quite some time. And by quite some time, I mean like since I did my best waifu tier list. And it was to basically do another ludicrous tier list. And it's going to be based on the best feat in Warcry. Now that might seem a bit crazy, and that's because it is a little bit crazy. I'm not going to lie; it's a bit white, it's a bit out there, right? But Warcry content is hard to come by nowadays. After all, remember Warcry is now a dead game because a bunch of really big YouTubers who don't play Warcry said so. So that's the death of Warcry, I guess. And that means I am now forced to sell my soul to the feat gods, and thankfully, with some rather, I assume, unintended help from our boy, the legend himself, the Salty Sea, Dan, he has actually got a tier list ready to go. I will quickly just change that so I am not taking out the background there. That should now work fine. Beautiful. So Dan, the Salty Sea himself, the saltiest man alive, made this rather wonderful resource on Tier Maker, and I'm not going to lie, I'm glad that it did because making tier list stuff, it takes a bit of time getting all the assets, and I've made all my tier lists in the past myself, but this time it's ready to go as an impromptu kind of thing, and there's every single warbands here. All of them are here, which is kind of funky, and we're going to rank them all based on their feet. Now, I have no idea what makes a foot a good foot in Warcry, but let's call the top tier here Super Stank. This is for the best feet available, right? The best feet going. We've got the Super Stanks. We've got some awesome. Ah man, what are the damn awesome. Sure. For now, we'll if you've got an idea for A, let me know. B, and undeserving of your affections, undeserving of your OF payments. There we go. A is up in the air still. If anyone's got an idea for A for the best feat in Warcry, Jesus Christ, what have I become? What have I become? Let me know. It'll be a fun time, I'm sure. Just making sure. Yep. So, we'll start with the Beastmen. And frankly, I think Beastmen are definitely up there. Definitely right at the top when it comes to best feat. And I say this not because they're hoofed, therefore cheating, but because they have Centigo. And Centigo have weird hand feet. Okay? They've got 4 weird hand feet, in addition to 2 actual hands on their arms, right? And I imagine that's pretty cool. That's 4 feet for the price of 1 and 6 hands for the price of 2. And to me, that seems like a massively awesome deal, and that is definitely, and also the Beastmen. So naturally, Super Stank is where these guys belong. The barest of feet. The Bone Splitters have the barest of feet, right? These guys don't know what shoes are. They barely know what clothes are. Honestly, I'm not going to lie here. If I was to go into a shop for a pair of feet to purchase, I think Bone Splitters might be up there, Like, even this little image here, this little shamans dancing around, feet full on display, And again, being a bit tribally. Sure, we'll super stank the Bone Splitters. Corvus Cabal. See, I don't think the Corvus Cabal have got it going. Like some of them wear stilts, And like, I don't think anyone's really in the stilt game, right? And like, other than that, like they're also bird-like, and like birds, who really wants little talony feet, right? I don't think Corvuscabal have what it takes. Um, so I think these guys are probably kind of crappy. The most insulting, I think, is definitely Cipher Lords. Cipher Lords, right? This like undeserving of your OF payments simply because they're so flaky, right? You'll drop that money on them feet picks, and then ultimately what will happen is you will land in a pool of debt, uncompromising debt, as they teleport away, and that's not great. Dark Oath, Savages specifically, man, it's weird. They wear shoes, but they're pretty sturdy boots, right? So they've got some stank going on. They're pretty well preserved. I'm going to just go out on a limb here. I don't think the Dark Oath Savages have any actual models with feet on display, so I can't put them right up top in a super stank because that's too much assumption. I could stretch to awesome, but I think Bedocious Bottoms is where Dark Oath live here. Daughters of Cain, they're a mixed bag, right? They're a pretty mixed bag, Daughters of Cain. Like some of them are snakes, some are bats, right? That's kind of weird. Yeah, that's kind of odd. But a whole bunch of just elves, and I imagine elves look after their feet pretty well. But then again, right, the super stank tier requires a degree of stank, and I just don't think the Daughters of Cain land like stick to landing to go full on super stank. I think these guys are in the A tier here. Flesh Eater Courts, they're falling apart, right? Like there's stank, but then there's also sort of like kind of just like there's entire like missing parts of your feet, and like nothing really great about it. You know, bit decrepit. But some people might like that for reasons unknown. Let's plonk these guys in Bedocious Bottoms. Fire Slayers, these guys have their feet on full display. Super stank, right? These guys are ginger. As we all know, gingers don't understand what hygiene is, and neither do dwarves. So therefore, it makes sense that they are super stank. Their feet are on full display. We can admire them on any model. Super stank all the way. Now this might be weird. So Gloomspite, I think the actual goblins themselves hold them back, right? If it was just goblins, kind of undeserving, right? I think at best they would have like weird feet, kind of weird, and not really matching like the power of other green skins, right? But then you've got to factor in like their squigs and their trolls, right? And honestly, this might like blow your mind. It might make you a bit sick. It makes me sick just thinking about it, right? But like those trolls, they grow mushrooms everywhere, right? Not only do you get some pretty big, crusty feet, but you also get a meal at the same time. Like a tangible food source. And I think that alone, the inclusion of like trolls in Gloomspite, takes them from undeserving of your OF payments all the way to super stank. Feel free, by the way, to if there's any issue with where you think they're getting placed, let me know in the comments. But for now, I think we're doing okay. Idneth Deepkin, like, man, it's too fishy, man. I think like you've got to draw the line somewhere, and I think fishy feet is probably where it would be, right? Yeah, I think fishy feet, like most things fishy, I don't think you would really appreciate. The iron golems are kind of weird. I think if this was like best hands, right? The best hands to hold you whilst you fall asleep crying, I think iron golems would be the ones to go there. These are blacksmiths, right? They've got some sturdy hands, but they're all about the hands and the upper body. I think that these guys skip leg day a little bit, and I think that lets them down on their feet game, and I think that will land these guys into the undeserving of your OF payments, where he's vanished. There he is. Although they do have a dwarf. They've got an armature. I think the armature actually elevates this lad, and it's kind of crappy. But not much higher than that, I don't think. Iron jaws, I think, are pretty good. So, as you can see, the war chanter actually does have his feet on display. We can see his crusty bottoms, and that's pretty good. I think the issue is that they are competing with like a whole faction in the Bone Splitters, and I think that actually knocks them down a fair few pegs, honestly, because only one model has it, and the rest probably like fully armored up and stuff, and like that's a lot of work getting to them, right? It takes a lot of work taking off like full plate, and I imagine orcs haven't like factored in sort of like the ease of unequipping their kit. You know what I mean? So I think the iron jaws get Bedocious bottoms just for that war chanter, but not much else. And again, if you like hoofs, they've got some pig boys, right? If you're with a hoof guy, then iron jaws all the way. So you can bear that in mind. Again, like with most elves, I don't think elves really fit in here, especially not elves that can teleport. You know what I mean? These guys are all in the shadows. Like they're hiding something. And this last year is like hiding like her entire like lower body with like a weird snake body made of metal, and that ain't good. I think that the K-Knight Shadowstalkers, they chilled down here. In a similar vein, I think the KO, they're very flaky. I don't think the KO would be willing to stick the landing when it comes to like delivering quality picks for their feet. And again, they're fully armored up, right? These guys are usually fully armored up in their sort of like brassy, bronzy armor. I don't think that's going to do anything for anyone, really. I was going to put Corn Demons right down bottom, but actually, it's just dawned on us that actually the Corn Demons feet fully on display. The question is, are Bloodletters hoofed or are they feeted? And I can't remember. I can't remember off the top of my head if they are footed or not. But there's a lot of them, and they've got those cool. They've got the dogs. They've got the dogs for the cool sort of like paw play. They've got the hooves for hoof play, right? If you like hooves, right? They've got the blood rhinos, the juggernaut, right? I think they're a pretty complete package. I don't think they're of the tier of super stank, but I think these are definitely in the awesome tier. Right? I think these guys could definitely fit into the awesome tier. Unlike Mortals, I think Mortals have a lot of stuff, right? They've got a whole bunch of stuff, including the Korgorath. And that lad's got like bones hanging off him and stuff, right? So he's made of like bone and random bits of flesh. If you like really skinny feet, maybe. I think we're going to Bedocious bottom these guys. I don't think they're quite on the same tier as the Corn Demons. Mostly because I think these guys, again, like a lot of like big burly guys, probably skip leg day. And it's sort of like, it lessens the package. They do have the rhinos though. They've still got the hounds as well, which is pretty good. But yeah, I don't think they quite have what the demons have going on. Here we go. Cruel Boys, easy super stank. These guys have like no shoes for the most part, from what I can remember, and they live in swamps. That's got like some fine. It's like a fine wine, I think. I think a Cruel Boy's foot pick is like a fine wine. It just gets better, right? I say a pick. It's not even like necessarily a pick, but it's in person, right? If you saw a Cruel Boy foot in person, and this was your kind of thing. You know, no judgment. I'm not judging you, right? But if it was your kind of thing, I think Cruel Boys would probably be right up there. Again, the Lumineth, right at the bottom. They can't hack it. Right? Elves just don't really belong here. The exception is Daughters of Cain, because they've got those weird little snake tails. They've got those cool little those sort of like bat talons. They've got a lot going on, but I think Lumineth are a bit too hoity-toity, and I don't think they've got what's going on. Nighthaunt as well. Nighthaunt don't have feet, and I think that automatically removes them from the discussion. Feel free to argue otherwise, but I think Nighthaunt don't really get a say here. I think both Nurgle Demons are right up top. Nurgle Demons and Nurgle Mortals. These guys, like, demons have less armor. Mortals are head to toe in like plate, right? But imagine if you were to take off that plate, right? You've got like the stankiest feet imaginable in that plate. it's like a little bit holy, and I assume that's a good thing. But also, like with Gloomspite, right? Like with the Gloomspite have the advantage of rocking up with free food, with their mushrooms coming off of their trolls. Can you imagine the sheer quantity of foot cheese on Nurgle models? Right, that's some fine shit right there. Super stank all the way. I think because we've rated like Nurgle mortals and demons so high, I think it kind of like puts into perspective how not super stank ogres are. I think if you did ogres first, you might consider slapping ogres right into super stank. But as it stands right now, with what we've seen so far, I think ogres land in awesome, and that's mostly because they're nomads. So you've got the crust, which is pretty good. They're huge, which is pretty awesome too, I guess, right? But you're lacking the meal aspect, right? We're starting to see like things climb to the top. I've got like something really special going on, and like I don't think the ogres quite nail that. Terratic cohorts, these guys are definitely Bedocious bottoms, and they could be higher. Theoretically, a Terratic cohort could get right at the top, right? Right at the top, Terratic cohort, foot pick, or foot thing could be pretty impressive because they are made up of so many individual pieces. You could get a pretty good deal and get like 55,000 feet on one guy, and that's kind of insane, right? However, that's a bit too random. So I think Bedocious bottoms to be safe, and hold the phone. Hang on. I am. We have a game ready to go. Actually, someone has just landed in the comments saying, "Cool, I'll have a game." I am. Give me 5, and I will quickly finish up this live tier list of the best feet in Warcry. Sweet. I will jump into recording booth in prep. I will be in the recording booth. Just pop in when ready. Who's the best? Spoilers. Signs of the Flame, I think, are a little bit too like burn victim-y. I think it kind of holds them back. Not in the same way as the elves. I think these guys get kind of crappy. Lizardmen have that scale action and the frog action. And that's kind of awesome. And I think I've answered that question myself. It's kind of awesome, right? It goes right there. Skaven. That warp stone touched foot, I think would be kind of insane, right? Plus, rats are kind of stinky. I think Skaven like legit goes super stank, and there's no debate on that really. Slaanesh demons, naturally, right? Slaanesh demons, lore-wise, they are what you want them to be, right? So they could be any of the super stank tier at any point based on what you're looking for. I think undeniably, Slaanesh demons got right at the top, or the top of the top by just default. Unfortunately, I think that the mortals don't quite have that same advantage. I think these guys are Bedocious bottoms. Slaves to Darkness. That's weird. These are just like regular guys. I'm not a fan of the regular guy look. And again, we went over how armor is not always a good thing. Soul Blight. Nah. Soul Blight aren't good enough. Like the track cohort at the very least have like a whole bunch of like feet on one guy. It's a lot of effort, I think, with the comparative Soul Blight. I think the existence of track cohort knocked down Soul Blight by default. Spire Tyrants, these guys land in kind of crappy. Again, big burly guys don't really do leg day. That being said, they do have hoof play. They've got a bestigo and they've got a dwarf. Ooh, I think actually Spire Tyrants sneak up into Bedocious bottoms here. Splintered Fang, I think, go to awesome because they have like weird snake play. I can imagine like someone getting off on the idea of like snakes going between toes. I imagine. So I think they're kind of like awesome. Not stanky enough, but kind of awesome. All the Stormcast, get out of here. All Stormcast undeserving. These guys are just nah. It takes. Like, have you ever seen a Stormcast out of their armor? No. How are you ever going to like? It's way too much effort and not enough reward. Sylvaneth, awful, awesome. They've got that like that the texture of the bark, and the like the fair nature of the spirit side. I think is pretty darn appealing. Easy. Tyrannus Brood, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Super stank. These guys have like multiple extra limbs. I mean, that could just be more feet. That's just a big win there. Plus, they live in swamps as well, and again, that's just extra stank. Zinch, I don't think Zinch quite fit. I think Zinch are kind of crappy. I think both Zinches are kind of crappy actually. I think they're the lesser of all the Beastmen kind of races, and the lesser of the demons here. I don't really think they give you anything you kind of want. Unmade though, I think Unmade go into Badocious Bottoms simply because like they've got sort of like that sort of like BDSM sort of like foot look going on, and I assume someone likes that somewhere. Untamed Beasts, I kind of want to like stank them up, but I think they're not swampy. They're sort of like plainsy, right? So I think similar to like the nomadic nature of the ogres, I do think these guys land in awesome. You might think that having their dog with the paw play might push them up. It doesn't, because ogres also have that, so it doesn't. I don't really think there's anything. Chaos Legion, I think these guys land in kind of crappy. They're too armored. It's too much effort. Although, again, they have hoofs. They've got hoof play on the Mutandor. We'll put Docious Bottoms there. Just we'll put respect on the Mutando's name. Horns of a Shut, fake dwarfs, don't care, undeserving, but just by default. In any kind of tier list like this, Horns of a Shut, nah. The one Chaos Dwarfs, they're undeserving of anyone's love. Hunters of Huanshi, I think, are they'll have an audience, right? I don't think they've got the variety of the full-on Seraphon. They do have the Badocious Bottoms going on, I think. There's definitely some Badocious Bottoms going on. And Jade Obelisk, I think theoretically they could be pretty high up, theoretically, but the terms and conditions to access to access their feat, like their rules, would be so complex you would never get through it. So not really worthy of your time. Rotmire Creed, I think, land into awesome tier. That again, Nurgle, right? So we've got the Skaven, we've got the two Nurgle mortals and demons in there. Rotmire Creed could go up here. I think the issue is that these guys spend too much time on stilts, and I think that would affect the pungency of their toes, right? Skirk True Blades, kind of mid, right? I don't see the Skirk and True Blades really being anything special, frankly. And Royal Beast Flares have like weird like baboon stuff going on, right? And also they're kind of gross. And people are weird. I think to be safe, we're going to Badocious Bottoms the Royal Beast Flares. Claws of Karanak. I think these are kind of crappy. I think we'll have to move them down some more, right? Like, they've got the issue of armor. They're not as varied as Khorne mortals, and they're not as varied as demons. I think, like in a linear downward curve, Claws of Karanak go down there. Questor, absolutely not. Stormcast issues. Darkling Covens, elves, absolutely not. Get out of here. Ooh. Okay. Cities of Sigmar. That's interesting. I think Cities of Sigmar, kind of going to awesome tier. They've got the Ogre, which is pretty good. And they've got like a large variety of people and multiple genders. So it appeals to a wide variety of audiences, and they've got the peasant factor, right? And I imagine peasant factor is like could be a selling factor, maybe. Dispossessed, too flaky, right? They've got those helicopters, like they scam you with their deals, and with helicopters. So I imagine Dispossessed would take your money and then fuck off, and then you're just down then, right? And that's not a good thing. I think Vulcan Flameseekers go right up top. They have all the strengths of Fire Slayers, who are up here, but also they have weird fire dogs, and again, weird feet might be the way to go. Gorja Morpak. Heroes out. Gorja Morpak, I think, are like Badocious bombs. They're not quite as good as ogres, and also there's a much higher chance they'll kill you because, like, they're a bit too bestial, right? Monster killers, I think they go into awesome tier. Not quite as good as Cruel Boys. They don't have the variety. They do have the Howlers, though. Howlers are kind of weird. I don't think it's enough to elevate them, though. I don't think so, anyway. Wildeco Hunters also go into awesome tier. These guys have, they've got the peasant factor and the weird factor, and that's all you really need. Heroes out. Order of Azir, right up top. And I say this, even though they should be getting docked points, they've got a Stormcast in their ranks, right? These guys hit everything. They hit so many similar to like the Castlight hosts. They've got a mixture of men and women. They've even got weird dog stuff and also Griftgrow stuff, or Talon stuff. It's kind of weird, but you never know. But also on top of that, they've got age on their side. Both Hanavatol and Mistress Varentia, they've got that wrinkle game going, right? They've got the wrinkle, and that might be enough. If there was another tier below, undeserving of your OnlyFans payments, the Black Talons would be there. They would be in that lower tier simply because they've got Stormcast, negative bias, in addition to having a Idneth. That's like double. I think uber negative. That's overlapping negatives. That's not good enough. Pyregeist, like Nighthaunt, they've got no feet. They fly around. It's a big no-no. And Dark Oath. Dark Oath. I think I'm going to put these guys into awesome tier. They're definitely a step above Savagers because they've got weird footplay with like the Wilderfiend horses and shit around now. Kind of weird stuff. I think that's where we'll put them there. And that's the tier list. I think this is my best work ever. And if you look at the arrangement, okay, the tiers are incredibly balanced, right? There are a fair few in undeserving, right? But there's 63 warbands, right? There's 63 warbands in Warcry, and most of them exist in this like big old S to C rank area, and that's kind of spicy. And I think that shows that the game is incredibly balanced. I looked at this list with so much confusion, having just joined now here, until hearing OnlyFans. It is actually the best feat in Warcry. And upon completion, I think this is my magnum opus as a creator. And I think, like I said, it highlights just how balanced Warcry is as a game, that even a jokey tier list about feat inevitably shows that the game tends to be really heavy in that big fat middle bit, right? In this from awesome to kind of crappy, that's where most of things lie. It's kind of beautiful. It's beautiful, honestly. Ah, yes, of course. Should have remembered after the Crethusa arc. Oh my god, Crethusa! Interesting, yeah. So she's not in Warcry, right? She's an Age of Sigmar thing. I think we can maybe actually move Crethusa into the Daughters of Cain into Super Stank because Crethusa exists within the faction as a whole, like as a mystery guest to the faction. I think we can actually bump up the Daughters of Cain. Then again, that is a bit unfair because we haven't factored in like non-Warcry models, and it is a Warcry tier list. We'll get them down awesome tier, and that's the list. Screenshot it, and use this when building your army lists. You can use this as a accurate source of information when it comes to ranking actual warbands in terms of power as well. Like I'm telling you right now, Bone Splitters, obviously the best army in the whole game, is whether an S tier. Right, that's how it works. That's how it works.